Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Total Health Live. I am one of your co-captains, Dr. Christopher Vogelmann of drvogelmann.com and Maximize Your Media, which is our digital agency for healthcare professionals and creatives. And with me today, as always, is the illustrious, talented nutritionist to the stars, Monika Klein.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Christopher.
Hola.
What a week you've had, I'm sure, as well as many of us have had. It's great to have this reprieve at the end of the week, isn't it?
I'm not sure if it's a reprieve or not for this week.
Yeah, because
I think
the weekend is full.
Tomorrow is the reprieve.
The weekend is full for both of us and probably many of you, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was a good cup of cold coffee.
Cold coffee, yes.
It was super.
It was super for Dr. Vogelmann.
Hey, who needs frappuccinos where you just get cold coffee out of your own office?
Yeah, my husband's been drinking cold espressos because the hot ones are just too hot right now. But it's not really, the heat wave's gone. So
was he trying to espresso himself?
He's trying to express himself, yes-sirree, with espresso.
Hey, so what's up this week in the wonderful world of changing health times?
Changing health times. Well, the COVID update continues to be the COVID update.
COVID.
I mean, we can't even think of anything any funny acronyms at all anymore.
I don't know if I did a bunch of recordings and live broadcasts on the topic, I could make co-videos. So
yes, we've been talking about co-videos, and it's a co-video production.
And co-video production. So today we have a list of different things. So you had some things with regard to the latest updates.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say something before we dive into our outline. I just read something about Mayor Garcetti is they're threatening to shut off power and electricity, was it
utilities
water?
In general is what it was.
All utilities in general with these large gatherings, these parties that are.
When you have a 700, 500 person gathering, it's not necessarily conducive to controlling the spread.
It's a COVID party, co-conspiracy.
Some people have had COVID parties where they will
that's,
each other. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Whoever gets the first infection wins or loses.
One of the things that really, I'm not going out that much, and I feel like, not that I'm fearful, but I think there's continues to be a lot of craziness and just such a strong dichotomy with this belief system that people have.
Yeah, people don't believe in public health or science. A certain percentage of the population. So,
I saw something today. When you're keeping people quarantined, if they're sick, that's protection. But if they're healthy, that's restriction. Actually, a stronger word. I can't remember the word they used.
Imprisonment.
No, it was more oriented. So definitely infringement on rights, which again, I don't know. It's a real thing. It's not something that's not happening. It's a real thing.
Yeah. So one of our friends is actually an ER nurse here in San Diego, and she says she would basically like to strangle or punch in the face anybody who says this is a hoax, because she's exhausted. She's working 90 to 100-hour weeks,
and she's seeing sick people that have COVID.
Tons of sick people.
Tons of sick people with COVID. So it. Clearly we have. Science and science is on our side.
Well, here's the thing. Just because you believe in science doesn't mean that you don't also believe in natural medicine and supplements and eating well and so-called alternative methods. But the reality is, if in the absence of somebody living a perfectly healthy lifestyle, it's good to protect people.
And that brings up a point. I've seen some people sort of in the health world, the alternative health world, whether they're herbalists. I don't want to downplay any.
Some of my colleagues,
nutritionists, people who call themselves that, touting like, you're okay. It's just in your mind. You got to believe that you have a good, strong immune system, and why live in fear? Why live in fear? And this kind of craziness, like it is. And again, I saw someone, referring it, someone who calls themselves a nutritionist, referring to it as a cold.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, you could, if that's the case, you could also call polio a cold, because that's a virus.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway. Shingles, let's just call that, well, that is a virus, but let's just call that a cold as well. It's any virus,
Well, and I know I've got a greater sense, because I was thinking a lot about this week, and my wife and I, Maggie, walk the beach and the island generally several times a week. And one of the things that occurred to me is that the United States, to some extent, was founded on individualism, the power of the individual to be the pioneer and do their own thing and own a gun and do this and do everything.
Wild West, the Wild West.
The Wild West. It's a Wild West mentality. And the idea of sort of hanging together and doing things for the public good, to a certain extent, seems to have evaporated.
Well, sorry, that's one of the things.
You see more of that in Europe and Asia and other places where people are a little more conscious about doing good for the general society.
Well, even in Canada, where I come from, I mean, that individualism, that uniqueness, and any can-do attitude, that's what attracted me to move here, 30 some odd years ago. That's why I moved here. But my homeland, Canada, is very much like that. It's very much protecting and for the common good. But, they did have protests in Berlin this week. So,
I saw those.
I think the American influence has always pervaded the globe, for sure.
Everything from fast food to individuality.
Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly, unfortunately. And so, it's really quite.
Well, I think it involves, to a certain extent, a certain philosophical construct, which is, I'm going to do what's good for me and maybe my family, but the rest of you can go to hell.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, fortunately, it's a minority of people, but it's a significant minority.
And it's. I mean, the focus needs to be on humanitarianism. We're all in this together. This is a global, if not universal, world and universe that we live in. We're all connected. And I think that's very old world thinking about, just me and my nuclear world, and that's all that matters.
Well, and that's the whole, it goes, I'm not even saying politically, but philosophically, it goes into, the globalization. The world is getting smaller. People travel freely. And the challenge is that as the world becomes smaller and people are more and more connected, the sense that I get is that what happens in one place will dramatically affect another. So forget the butterfly effect. The butterfly in the South Pacific will cause a hurricane in the Atlantic.
We're seeing it right now.
A little old virus in China can travel the world and make dramatic change to humanity's behavior, or to some members of humanity.
Well, I think to everyone. I mean, I was, one of the things that we wanted to talk about were these lifestyle changes that COVID has caused. Certainly the obvious, the mask wearing and this division, which makes it quite. Sometimes you feel unsafe going out because you just don't know what to expect.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I mean. Unfortunately, it's causing us to stay inside more, which is not good either. This whole socialization aspect, although, I don't have a loss of being with people. I don't miss that because I'm constantly connecting with people. So, I mean, certainly hugging people, and, you look at romantic movies on Netflix and it's like,
no social distancing.
Are those things of the past? Will that never happen again?
I do think we have this 12 to 24 month period where things are just, it is a so-called new normal. I would just say new reality. It's not necessarily normal. It's just a new reality.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different. It is becoming different. But like once it all lands, as you say, 12 to 24 months,
whatever it is,
it's going to be very different.
Yeah, people will definitely remember this. I was telling our 13-year-old, I said, you're living history right now. You're going to be telling your grandchildren how you survived the pandemic of 2020.
And how did he respond?
He was silent, but I think he got it, which is that he is living history right now. So
yeah, but we always are. I mean,
Yeah, I think, but in terms of dramatic events, like I remember 9/11, I remember the Kennedy assassination, I remember a lot of different things that were seminal events in my life. And but I think this has an impact on him because, for example, he was born after the terrorist attacks of 9/11, so he doesn't have that perception embedded in his consciousness.
Yeah, my parents went through the war. So not only, you, but your ancestors and the cellular memory that you carry of your ancestors' traumatizations or their traumas, it's quite. I'm
traumatized because I've run out of coffee.
Yeah. Well, where's your, I was going to say, in French it's eau, and
it's over here.
Agua.
Oh.
And in German, of course, it's Wasser.
Wasser.
Very close.
In Russian, it's Vada, which is very close to Vada.
There you go. Yeah. So we are global. Even our language is.
We are the world. No. Yeah, I'm going to disappear from that one.
So you're having your coffee, and so lifestyle changes, and because of the virus and how we live. And
I'll give you one little lifestyle change because this was interesting because my wife, as you know, Maggie, is a Mexican food blogger, and so there was a crew of 2 cameramen, a stylist, and a makeup artist supposed to come to our house to film a special broadcast that she was to create for a particular brand. It's a sponsored video series. And they were unable to come because of COVID. And so as a result, we have all the equipment shipped to us, and she's been spending 3 days or more coordinating with these people on how to do a professional outdoor video broadcast, including figuring out the equipment and everything else. And so the fact that people who need to work cannot come to us but have to instruct us in how to do something, it's been a major impact in terms of our lifestyle over just the last 48 hours.
Yeah, and I can concur because we're doing a series.
Right.
We're creating a launch in the next week or two.
Yep.
And we're trying to shoot video. And yes, normally I would have people helping me, but I don't have people helping me. And I'm, on camera. So I've had a long history in television before, and I've had crew members doing all the technical work. And now I have to figure out how to do chroma key, and I have to figure out how to do an on-screen teleprompter and all of this stuff. And so I think there's excess, I think our learning curves are just accelerated right now because there's so many other things we need to learn, especially
It has to be that way because you can't have a bunch of strangers coming in who haven't been tested and doing all kinds of stuff. Because normally, to do one of these series, if you've got 2 cameramen and a stylist and a makeup artist, it makes a big difference when you have 4 people helping you do something as opposed to little old me who doesn't know what I'm really doing.
You need my husband, Media Man.
I do. I need Media Man. Get Media Man here.
Yes, Media Man he was a producer and a cameraman, and he used to be he was a video engineer. That's what he was trained in. So actually, he's helping me a little bit, and that's good for his health and state of mind because he can kind of give me some feedback about lighting and all these things. So I think the learning curve for people who are in business, and you don't even have to be in business, but you have to learn things differently and quicker because it's necessary.
Yeah, I mean, just working from home. If you're working from home, it's even worse than being 24/7 on your phone because now you've got Zoom meetings and other things like that. You do have the option of not wearing pants, which, by the way, I am wearing pants today.
Good to know. Thanks.
It is good to know, just in case I get up in the middle of this broadcast. And so it has had a tremendous impact, and more people, I think, are eating at their computers, especially if they've got meetings that are scheduled through 5 different or 10 different time zones.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we're doing this series, because of that kind of thing. And the lifestyle changes that have been impacted or changed or developed because of COVID are causing some imbalances, some health imbalances, and certainly weight gain. And one other thing I need to mention, the noise factor too. People are at home more. And there tends to be a lot of noise happening. Like just today, the church was playing loud music on a Friday. I don't understand. Amplification. Father Jim so kindly promised he wouldn't do that on Sundays, but
Father Jim, we can't believe him.
But even neighbors, I mean, it's really quite amazing. And there's the whole factor that a lot of people aren't working at home, but a lot of people are, and so people don't know how to be with each other anymore. Oh, that neighbor's working at home, we should be more quiet. They're not going to think about things like that.
Well, we've had some very courteous neighbors, because yesterday, despite the fact that, sometimes the kids are really loud and all, but they closed up all their windows while we were doing the recordings. But we have to redo everything again today because of technical.
Did you ask them to, or they?
No, they did it automatically. And I do appreciate that, because
how did they know that you were shooting?
Well, because you could just hear the dialogue and see the equipment. It's a big setup.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean, most neighbors are fine. They get it. Or if the noise is a little bit too much, they'll they're considerate enough and they'll do something about it.
Yeah, but we have seen. I mean, there are people. I can say within within this population, we have like 26,000 people here in Coronado Island, and there is. I can tell that tempers are flaring in certain households as you're even going on a walk or so in the evening, and there is this potential. Particularly if people are stuck at home for long periods of time, there's potential for increased domestic abuse and things like that. And you occasionally can hear that kind of stuff going on, at least people, screaming at the top of their lungs. Fortunately, it's an unusual circumstance, but you can find some of that stuff on, and that creates a noise level that is emotionally really quite disturbing.
Yeah, and I think it's unnatural to be cooped up like this for long periods of time. But speaking of noise, continuing to speak of noise, at 1 o'clock the other night, I heard noise, people yelling, and one of my caregivers was out, and he reported it back. He reported what happened the following morning, and he said there were like a group of young, late teens, early 20s.
Right.
They were taking the church chairs. Because these chairs were set up, I guess, for their services, that they were walking around with these chairs. I mean, they don't know what to do. There's an element of violence, possibly, because
boredom plus mischief.
Yeah, combination. You just don't know. It just doesn't make you feel any safer. I mean, we're feeling unsafe already because of the virus, and then I mean it's a very, very unnatural, unusual circumstance right now, situation for everybody. Yeah, for everybody.
Well, and you have to, and I think it's one thing to be stuck at home. It's a whole other thing for some of our friends whom we know are on the front lines treating COVID patients right now, caring for them, and there are. I mean, it's getting to the point now where they're flying people in from. Out in the valley, they're flying people into San Diego because we had greater bed capacity from Arizona. And we happen to have, because we're a tourist location, we have a huge influx of people from Arizona and Nevada. And as a result, I think we have seen some of those behaviors increase our case rate here.
Yeah. What valley are you referring to?
The Central Valley in California.
Oh, really?
That's becoming a hotspot right now. So
okay, yeah,
and even El Centro, they're flying people in from El Centro here, for example.
Yeah, these hotspots seems to vary. I mean, I'm in LA County, so it's one of the biggest counties in the state, and so.
But Riverside's competing with you right now.
Well, I mean, I'm really just on the verge of going into Ventura County, so I'm not in the depths of LA County, so where a lot of, Anyway, it's just. Continues to be tragic.
Yeah, and a lot of people who, going back to people who are stuck at home and practicing, some degree of self-isolation, we talked about some of the different behaviors and habits, like, going on a snackathon and things like that, the ready availability of stuff. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about in weeks to come is trying to restrict the availability of certain types of things that can cause us to get that, what you referred to as the COVID-15 or the COVID-30.
Yeah,
or quarantine 15.
Yeah. So So again, that's the reason we're putting this series together. I'm not sure if we want to reveal the title of the series just yet.
It's a working title, so let's not use
working title. So, but it's going to be a 4-part video series, and hopefully you'll benefit. And it's going to be chock full of things you can do, implementable things, and some implementable. Isn't that a word?
Implementable is maybe a new word. Implementable, but not lamentable.
Implementable. That is a mouthful. Okay, and some education and some, some of the things you might be struggling, we'll be addressing, because we're all struggling with one thing or another for sure. So, this whole thing and the COVID issue, of course, it's hard to not continue talking about it, but there is a real strong corollary between healthy weight or obesity or overweight and developing. And in fact, what is it? If you have a BMI greater than 35, there's an increased need of ventilation and an increased admittance into critical care. And this was from a publication. This comes from a publication called Circulation, which is a highly regarded publication. There was a French and a New York study. So,
and that makes total sense. It makes total sense, because you think about it, fat can insulate the organs from bumping around to each other, but also too much fat within the body can actually create pressure within the diaphragm and other areas, which can compromise your ability to breathe.
Yeah, so it's not just pulmonary. It's going to be,
the other organs too.
Heart disease and blood pressure, obstructive breathing, as you just said, cerebral vascular issues. Even Bill Maher, who I used to watch on a regular basis, but he was talking about, go out and have fun like a couple of months ago. And I thought, I'll take a break. But last week he talked about, how your diet is one of the biggest cures to preventing COVID. You contracting COVID.
And we were studying actually with the same people for health coach programs way back in the mid 1990s. And one of the things that I remember one of our mentors, Mark Percival, saying, Dr. Mark, was that treat food like medicine. And for most of us, we take that medicine at least 3 times a day.
Yeah. Well, Hippocrates says, let thy food be thy medicine. And I always say, let your kitchen be your pharmacy. Mm-hmm. In fact, my latest article is about the healing power of what you have in your kitchen, and not Twinkies and Oreos and, instant food and Tang.
Tang. Is that what the astronauts? That's what the astronauts have.
Long, like 1969. Yes, one of my aides drinks Tang, and so and Monster drinks.
Tang and Monster. He's the Tang monster.
People will only change when they want to change, So
and that's part of it too. You have to look at. I still believe, after seeing my first 13,000 patients, taking care of them, that people have to reach a certain either pain threshold or some sort of a goal or some level of frustration to actually receive that internal message that says, hey, dummy, it's time to change.
But you know what? I also have to say that it's not my place to say, tell him what to do. It's not my place to tell you anyone what to do. If you want to do that, go ahead and, God bless you, walk the path. It will take something in order to change, but it's not my job to convert everybody. This isn't a religion. It's like, if you want to, be healthier and feel better and, walk better and, tie your shoes better and, sleep better, then there are a few things you can change. But if you're not open to it, well,
but that's what you just say next. I mean, the reality is you can provide information, but encouraging people to change behavior is a whole different story.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great person, and he's like very qualified at what he does. So, and that that whole, if you're obese or overweight, you're more susceptible to contracting many diseases, not just COVID. There was a connection to shaming. There was
okay.
shaming.
I was like, weight sharing. I've got some weight to share with somebody.
Yeah, here, share my weight.
Share my weight.
You can have some weight. You can have some weight. Everybody gets some weight.
Everybody gets some weight.
Okay, so no, this isn't about shaming. This is just about having better lives. Having.
Well, you can get creating a powerful why. Like, do you want to see your grandchildren graduate from high school? Do you want to meet your grandchildren? There's a number of different whys that you can create, or fundamental precepts or major premises that can help people to change their matrix of beliefs.
Okay, Dr. Christopher, what if I don't have children? Here's an objection.
Do you want to see your cat have kittens? There's all
cats always die before you anyway.
Do you want to outlive your cat? That's the question. Do you want the kitty to be all alone in your house? There
are,
do whatever it takes.
There are motivators. Like, think of yourself at 70 or 80. How do you want to be in your body? Do you want to be agile? We have this wonderful woman who comes and visits my husband. Well, she's not visiting right now. They're phone and Zoom calls. But, she's 82. And, my family, my siblings, they're active.
Yeah.
They're active. And she's 82 and just walks 2 miles a day and just is so fit. Doesn't everyone want to be that?
It's vitality. I think the challenge is that the concepts or the basic beliefs of people about aging, there's a wide spectrum of them. From the people who believe that, oh my God, when I hit 65, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
To the people who say, when I'm 90, I really want to visit India.
I know it is a mindset. It is your vision, but yeah, and then there's people who have had their parents die early and they're afraid
that they're going to suffer the same consequence. Yeah. I had a friend whose dad passed away at 50, and when he was a fellow chiropractor, and when he reached 50, he was dreading that age, but he lived for many, many, many years after that because he lived a far healthier lifestyle than his father did.
And I have a very dear friend. I've known her since university, and both her parents died late 50s. And so she was very, very concerned, when that time happened, which is just like in the last few years. She was just really, really scared.
Yeah, people freak out age truly is just a number. There are people who are chronologically 70, but biologically they're 55.
And you can overcome your genetics. You really can. It's only half of the picture.
It's the choices that we make will determine how our genetic profile expresses itself in a physical form.
And I want to break that down because I think people don't understand what expresses in a way. So like simplifying this is basically, it's like a light switch, like if you do bad, if you have, eat whatever you want,
Twinkies and Tang.
What unhealthy food, and you keep on doing that. Well, the switch goes on, like a switch in your body goes on and says, alert, alert, not good, not good. I am going to go this path to the path of disease. Or you could be eating all this healthy food and having a healthy mindset and taking good care of yourself. And the switch for healthy aging, there is such a thing as healthy aging, goes on and says, hey, I'm gold. I'm gonna be around for a while, and I'm not gonna have the aches and pains that are associated with, older age.
Yeah, there's an expression. I think my dad mentioned it. It was also some other chiropractors I know of, which they say, if I had known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself.
Yeah. Something I've been saying for years and years, you get old when you stop going for it, no matter what your age.
What are we going for?
your life, anything you want to go for, you know?
I don't know what it was.
That's when you get old, when you stop having a reason to live, really. That's when you get old.
I used to do guided meditations for my dad when he was in his 90s. And one of the phrases that I had at the very end of it, that you'll be waking up the next morning and eager to start the day.
And did it work for him?
He hated the expression eager to start the day, but I thought it was good.
Well, you know, I was playing, my husband tends to be a little more agitated, if he hasn't had dialysis for a couple of days.
Right.
So he was really quite agitated on Monday morning. And so I played some, this Tara Brach. She's a psychologist and a Buddhist teacher. And she was, before COVID, doing these lectures every week in DC, your old stomping grounds.
27 years there in our nation's capital.
Yeah, there you go. And anyway, it was all about, you know, like meditative, and I love what she says. I really, really like her, what she says a lot. So I was playing that for my husband, but it was too much talking, and it was agitating him more, or he lost interest. So I put on this really great Native American music with flutes, and it just soothed him, just like instantly.
I have a lot of those, actually. It's really funny. I got on one of those kicks many years ago. I've got probably like 20 CDs of that kind of music.
Yeah. So, I mean, what you have to find what soothes you, and that can change depending on the day.
Yeah. In fact, we start our mornings very often just with classical music, playing out of the Alexa, Echo or so in the morning. And
I am a member of KUSC, which is a classic music station at KUSC at USC, and I play classical. You were a French horn
player, yeah. I used to play in the orchestra. And
Rouget, weren't you?
Got to tour with Yo-Yo Ma. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, wow. I mean, you're totally very accomplished, and classical music runs through your veins.
Well, it does, because that's all we got as kids with my family. But I used to, but it's funny because I would sneak away and listen to AM radio and hear the latest Beatles songs.
Rock and roll.
So, yeah.
Well, we had so much music in my household. I mean, just everything, whether it was German polka music or classical or rock and roll or whatever, everything. And it's so healing. Music is so healing.
Well, and it's an important factor. I mean, if you want to create an environment when you're stuck at home, music is one of the best ways to change the vibration and accentuate some of the more positive emotions.
Soothes the savage breast or the savage beast. And I think it was Nietzsche said, without music, life would be a mistake. There we go.
To Nietzsche his own.
To Nietzsche his own. I think it was Nietzsche.
It could be.
I could be corrected.
I'm not a big Nietzsche.
I love what he said. Well, I look at quotes that resonate with me, unless it's some terrible person. But that's a quote. Maybe it was Einstein. It could have been Einstein too. I can't remember.
One of my distant relatives, Reinhard Vogelmann, was giving us some hearts. That's kind of fun.
Oh, right now?
Just a moment ago, yeah.
Danke, Reinhard.
No comments, but we're glad that you're watching from afar.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Hey, so what else do we want to touch on today, too? Maintaining healthy weight. We talked about the folks there. We talked about obesity, higher instances, managing blood pressure, and healthy diet. I think part of that healthy diet is, food prices have really increased dramatically. We have had sticker shock here periodically, just looking for simple items in grocery stores. And I think when you talk about an increased number of infections and cases in the Central Valley of California, much of the nation's food supply does come from that area.
Yeah.
And that could be part of the disruption that we're seeing and the price increases, because if you don't have the workers healthy, it's hard to pick the fruits and vegetables and do all the things that are necessary to process some of the meats and poultry and, of course, eggs and other things. So.
I'm not sure if I 100% buy that, because I think...
I'm not asking you to buy 100% of it, because you'd go broke if you bought 100% of everything.
I don't think it's pure economics. I think there's other factors in play. but food costs. Okay, water is going to cost less than a soda, right?
Yeah. So I mean, you can save a ton of money by not buying the Tang. You just, instead of just add water, make that for your glass. Just
have it water. And, fruits and vegetables, they're not as expensive as some of the packaged foods.
No. And convenience. I mean, you actually, in many cases, have more time to cook or at least assemble ingredients. Creating a salad doesn't mean that you have to cook. It just means you have to cut things up and put them together.
Yeah, and it can be a very healing experience just doing that, just slowing down, cutting things up. But this Tang, back to the Tang thing, I think there are certain cultures that still have things like that available, and it's quite commonplace. Different cultures. I don't know, those kinds of things that we, craft dinner and things like that. I mean,
well, I know that we used to go. I had a Korean store that was within walking distance of my old house around the DC area. And I used to walk there, and you just saw all kinds of different varieties of noodles, cellophane noodles.
Oh, yeah, noodles. Well, that's a big
noodles and noodles.
Yeah.
And so it was a noodle culture for sure for the Koreans.
Yeah. I mean, I watch a lot of foreign series and movies, and I was watching quite a few Korean ones, some really great ones. And I just want to eat. I just want to have a noodle meal right away because it's just looks so good. And they get right into it, right? There's no you can slurp all you want.
Slurp.
So it's just different cultural differences. So
you got too much of the noodle thought in your noodle. So
yeah, whatever you just said.
Your noodle. People used to know your brain.
Yeah, I know what a noodle means, but
you can noodle on something.
Yeah,
so you can noodle on noodles.
Let's noodle. Let's do the noodle dance.
Kit and caboodle if you want a noodle. All right, so I think we've covered most of what we need to talk about.
I think so. I think there's always something to talk about. So, but this is, I think, a wrap for this week.
We're never short on topics. So we will be back here again Friday at 1:00. We did 1:05 today just to give us a little bit of an extra.
And this is our 25th silver anniversary.
20, it's our silver. So what are you going to buy me? Is it
water?
Silver, water. Buy me some water. Ship me some Fiji while you're at it. or a Fuji apple. I'll accept.
Yeah, we'll have our 25th year anniversary of Total Health Live in Fiji. How's that?
In Fiji. Coming to you live 25 years from now in Fiji will be Total Health Live. Oh. I will say that our banner on Facebook looks a little bit like it probably did come from.
It does. It
in the South Pacific. Yes. So we want you to have a Pacific week, even if you're in the Atlantic or anywhere else. And we will be back here next week around 1:00 Eastern time, 4:00 Pacific. Wait, is that 3? Wait, no, the other way around. It's 1:00 Pacific, 4:00 Eastern, 3 Central, 2 Mountain, and 10 a.m. in Hawaiian time because you guys never change the clocks. So, all right, we'll be back next week.
All right, everyone, have a good, safe, healthy week.
And if you have any questions or anything, stick it in the comments below here.
Comments below. We'd love to hear any thoughts you have.
Thoughts. Criticisms.
Yeah, what you'd like to know more about, what you want to discuss, and you can join in the conversation too.
Exactly. We can even bring you on live sometimes.